it's it was just fun. It was just fun, and because it just like it's literally it's for everybody. It's for I mean like there are no barriers. It's for everybody. Period. That's what it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be, Jess. And
Yeah.
it's nice to know that in this sea of changing whatever, again, don't want to get fired, that places like this exist. And I'm grateful for it.
That was Will Graves of the AP. He went to NAIGC Nationals in Pittsburgh this year, and he was forever changed by it. We'll talk to him about his story. Remember, this show is PG-13, so you might hear a naughty word or two. Jesolo, Osijek World Cup. We have a mixed team event finally at the Olympics for artistic gymnastics, and it is NCAA Championships and GymCastic live show week. It's April 13th, 2025, and welcome to the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation, who will be at our live show this week. So let's give you the schedule for this week. So the meet schedule and the GymCastic schedule. So Thursday, individuals.
Which... Yeah, of course, Jessica's leading with individuals. Yes, Thursday is the semifinals, at which individuals compete and the individual titles are decided. So the all-around and event champions are decided on Thursday, as well as the 4 teams that are advancing to the team final. So that's all on Thursday. Friday, no meets. We got the media.
Thursday after that. The semifinals is over, after all of the individuals and all around is awarded, then we'll have a podcast for you guys.
Yeah, we'll talk all about it. Who got upset, which individuals didn't win individual titles, and Jessica's just going to cancel the whole meet and leave. Yes. Friday, no meets, but we do have first GymCastic live show of 2025, which is on Friday, April 18th, 7 p.m. in Fort Worth. So that's Central U.S. time if you're watching virtually, and you need to plan for that. All kinds of things, games, interview, very exciting. Being in person, less exciting for me, but I'm going to do it anyway. So you can watch me squirm because I have to be in person around other people. And I think that's fun for people too.
You get to meet the new WCC coaches and the Romanian head coaches this last Olympics. And Anna Robosu won floor this past weekend at Jesolo. And they coached her. And so you're going to hear all the things and ask the questions. And even if you have a virtual ticket, you can still participate in the Q&A. It's very fun. And I think the meet and greet tickets are almost sold out. So if you want to do the meet and greet, you get a special gift from us. You get to sit in the front. You get the poster, signed little moment to meet our guests and chat with them and ask them your questions in private. And that is, those are almost gone. So that's Friday night. You won't miss any gymnastics. You could just hang out with us. And there's a margarita stand across the street. And you can get a virtual, season passes are still available. And then Saturday, practically morning.
Practically morning?
Practically morning. I feel very tired on Saturday because it's a live show.
Jessica will wake up at noon and be like, why is it so early? Saturday, team final. For the 4 qualifying teams from the semifinals. We will crown, we're doing it, we'll crown a national champion for the 2025 NCAA season, and then we will have a podcast after that, and after awards and the media, so and we'll go back to the hotel, I assume, to record it, and it'll be a while, and then we will do a live podcast for club members, but a podcast for everyone, and you can see what we think about what happened.
Yes.
And the obvious injustices, once again, that occurred.
Exactly.
That we're ready for, but cannot possibly foresee. But we'll try to foresee them because we're going to preview NCAAs in this episode.
Exactly. Okay, so before we get to NCAA preview and then draft our NCAA-based Olympic teams, which is the most important part, Spencer, on behind the scenes on Friday, we discussed for 20 minutes the mixed gender event for
20 minutes, and it could have been 20 hours because I feel like there's still a lot to say. But the announcement came this week that there's going to be a mixed team event of some kind at the Olympics in 2028 in the artistic gymnastics program. We don't have any details yet on the format, the timing, how this is going to work, basically anything other than that it's gonna happen. So it's the best time when it's just pure speculation, and we spend a lot of time speculating on what we'd like to see, all of the potential stumbling blocks and problems that we also foresee with this, of which there are many concerns that we have. But we talked about that on Behind the Scenes, and the link will be in the show notes if you are a Club Gym Nerd member to listen to that in its entirety. We're hoping after the May FIG meeting that we will get some more information, and we'll be able to talk about that with some more specificity, be more specific in our complaints, which will obviously happen.
And we are available as consultants for the FIG and IOC.
We are not short of opinions on what should and should not happen with regard to the mixed team event. And if you eliminate any current competitions in order to shoehorn in a mixed team event, we're going to have some a discussion.
That's right.
We're going to have some words.
You want to sell the most tickets? Because this is really what's happening. They want more gymnastics. That's why they made event finals 3 days long in Paris instead of 2 days. We have ideas for how you can do that and give people rest. Follow up from last week. So last week we were recording during the House settlement hearing. So this is a lawsuit that was smushed into one by an athlete whose last name was House, and it was about all these athletes who didn't get paid when they made a lot of money for their schools and should have made NIL money, name, image, likeness. And so the settlement decision is going back to 2016, and it is estimated to be worth $2-something billion that schools will owe and the NCAA will owe back to athletes who competed then. And Livvy Dunne was testifying while we were recording. So I wanted to give a couple updates on what she said, which is her testimony was fantastic. Spencer, will you read this first quote?
Yeah. So one of the things she said was, this entire process defines athlete value based on the sport you played in and how much revenue your team brought in. But NIL is about more than wins and revenue, which I think is a really good point to bring up for athletes in Livvy's exact case, which is, if you're defining my, compensation value based on your perception of women's gymnastics, you're going to undervalue someone like Livvy Dunne, whose value is much, value. It's all reductive. It's all talking about people in money terms. That's gross, and I hate it. But it's your money value is much more than what your perception of women's college gymnastics in comparison to football or basketball would be. And it's a really important point to make.
I thought a lot about what she said, because when I went to the MIT conference, the two panels I went to were the same people. They were Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird. And because I want to know everything they had to say. Yeah. Drink if you are following how many times I say that I went to the Sloan conference, because it was freaking amazing. And everyone should try to go to this. So Sue Bird is involved in a pro league. She went to her, the ownership group and was like, we have to prepare for the generation who have these huge, massive followings on social media. But she didn't say it like that. She said they are engaging with the fans in a different way, and the fans are responding to them in a different way because of how they are, because of their platforms. And we need to prepare for that when we make offers. And this was all talking about how they lost like a really good player to an Italian league. And this is exactly what I think is so important, that what Livvy's talking about here. There is a different value when you bring in a gigantic audience with you to college. And and this is also something we heard of. There's like a Nepo baby actor who talked about this, and she's like, oh, it doesn't even matter that my parents are in the business, which, come on. But she said, you have to have a social media following or you won't even get an audition for these things. And I was like, what? That's crazy. One other thing that Livvy talked about, she said that athletes haven't had any say in the settlement, even though she has tried to reach out, except obviously House, because, this is the person that brought the suit originally. But she said her valuation has been wrong every year. Like, everyone estimates how much money I made, and every year they're wrong. And I was like, yeah, this is a really important thing. It's supposed to be for the athletes. So are we really taking them into account? So I appreciated that very much. And I think that this is another time to remember that the NCAA and these leagues are just basically they've been giving away women's sports TV contracts and valuing them at nothing. So that needs to change. Let's talk about some of the GymTernet news. So a lot of meets.
A lot of meets.
First, a lot of meets.
As we established, could we not put Jesolo in May would be great for us.
Yeah.
We could reschedule that to May.
This is a meet that happens in Italy that is always the meet that's like the people you think that are going to be the greats in the future. This used to be the meet that you would send them to. That was like the debut meet, and all the good Italians are there. And so the first crappy thing that happened is Zoey Molomo injured.
I love your intros. Like, it's such a fun meet, and all the great Italians are there. And the first crappy thing that happened. Yeah, but yes, I know. Zoey Molomo got injured, so why are we even doing anything?
Yeah, that sucks. I love her. Gymnastics is so beautiful. I'm so bummed. Italy won the team event, the seniors. The qualifiers were super exciting. So at the qualifier, Manila Esposito, who's, one of my favorites, and made the floor final, as I said she was going to at the Paris Olympics. She won the all around and then qualified first. Qualified first on floor and beam as well. And her beam D was a 5.9. So let me just tell you, Manila Esposito is back. Simone Rose won bars with a lower D score than Nunzia, who had a 6.0 D on bars. So that just to tell you, clean execution matters.
But put in difficulty when you can, like her double AFO.
Right, exactly. Do it where you can do it clean. Both D'Amato sisters are back.
So we need to talk a couple things from Jesolo we need to talk about, which I feel like, of course, the gymnastics talking point was the intro dance that the US team did. Did you see this? What were your thoughts? I wanted to know what you thought about this.
I am so glad that they're finally putting more effort into this because one, it's fun and it's actually a team bonding activity. Like you're doing something besides just, it used to be the team just bonded over how they were never allowed to go anywhere and locked in their hotel rooms and
misery is always bonding.
that is the whole point of military, your first away camps and military. What's that called? Basic training.
I don't know. An away meet, army away meet. I don't know what it's
military called. Boot camp. Yeah. So I'm glad that it was very elaborate and they did the most. And now they have, Patrick and Damon, who are both choreographers, come from musical theater, doing our live show. They're coaches now, and they have Betty Okino, who's also a professional dancer, who can now give more attention to the important things like team bonding, group dances. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's extra beyond. But I always, extra is more interesting than the opposite of extra, I guess. It's something to talk about. It's interesting. It's like, insane. But what's wrong with insane?
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to give the Kyla Ross Award for getting ejected from the floor exercise at Jesolo, which is very important. It's a very important in the history of gymnastics. That time Kyla got ejected from the floor. It happens every year to someone. Dulcie Kaler in the floor final had a hilarious ejection on a front tuck. She's doing front tuck to stag jump in her floor routine. That front tuck, she got pushed into a torpedo pose and then was like, my down to the floor choreography is happening now. There was no stag jump. There was just like, I'm flying. I'm a flying person now and I fly. And now I'm on the ground doing choreography. So that was also a highlight of the meet for me. Very well done. She has joined an illustrious legacy of getting ejected on the floor at Jesolo.
That's right. This is how you know you're going to be good. She's already good, but yeah.
When you get the award that we've called the Kyla Ross Award, you're in good company. Yeah,
exactly. Osijek World Cup happened.
Mm-hmm.
The really cool thing that happened here is EY tied Tokyo Olympic floor champion Dolgopiat on floor. I mean, they didn't end up tying because of D score or whatever, but their scores were the same.
Breaks. Yeah, we know.
He technically placed second, but I'm not. Yeah, and I love that. I was like, it was a little surprising because I didn't think it was like as clean. But that's huge. Because Dolgopiat is still good and is always good on floor, and an Olympic champion. So that's a big boost for the men. That's huge.
My Osijek highlight would be Athora hitting 2 consecutive beam routines and winning beam gold. It's just a delight to see her do gymnastics ever anyway, but staying on beam twice in a row, I was like, the future is now, it's happening.
I feel like
2025 world all-around champion Athora Thorsdottir, don't come at me. I don't want to hear it. It's happening. That's basically how I felt about watching her beam.
She has gotten so much more confident and more consistent and I feel like maybe it's theater school. All the Dutch go to school because, they all speak 10 languages and are also doctors while they do gymnastics. But she's just been better and better. And this is my example of, can you imagine how many of our gymnasts would have like healed their hearts, Americans, and like had a better career had they stayed longer? And it's just like, oh, I want this for everybody. Anyway, very happy for her.
Also a strong competition from Jayla Hang. Hit her
Yes.
back handspring tuck full both days. Silver on beam. I love, you know me, because I'm like basically just watched beam and was like, this is the important event. But we also saw Yang Fan Yue did her now eponymous Jaeger full in the final. She didn't do it in qualification because Smart got to get into the final and then did it in the final. And so that was excellent.
Which I love to see.
World Cups are happening. These weren't lame World Cups, and that's fun.
Yeah, it's really nice to see the level increased at these. Other things that happen, Nia Howard announced that she's leaving Georgia. So the portal opened a week or two ago, and you have to put yourself in the portal. Don't forget, you can't just have a phone call with another coach to tell your team that you're leaving. You have
can't
to actually
just tweet, I declare transferring, and have it be official, because that's what you should be able to do.
You have to put yourself in the portal. Then you can talk to other coaches and get other offers. So that is an interesting thing, but we're going to see way more of that. It's going to be really common to do. Marta Pihankuleja of the famous Pink Panther routine, also, by the way, choreographed by Damon Jones, who is our special guest at the live show. She won the Polish national championship for the 13th time. 13th time. 2 kids, runs a gym, 13-time national champion. I love her. Okay, Carly Bauman and Reina Gugino of Michigan are coming back for a 6th year because of COVID and injuries. So that the COVID years have not stopped.
Continuing. Yeah. So there will still be some next year for people who have their 5th year because of COVID and a 6th year because of redshirting because they missed a season.
The club national championships happen. Morgan Price repeats as national champion. Morgan Price of Fisk. So she continues to dominate.
The national invitational championships that we used to call the USAG nationals for other college teams that don't have the full complement of scholarships, who aren't the ones going to NCAA nationals, but it is its own national championship.
Yes. It's just awesome to see her do that. Iowa, as in the Hawkeyes, not the Tornadoes.
Yeah. Correct.
They cut the ribbon on a new $20 million training center. Oh, for the Spirit Squad and gymnastics team. Oh, they better take their shoes off. That's all I have to say. Those cheerleaders better take their shoes off. Although a Spirit Squad, I believe, is different. They actually lead, here is a thing for the audience to yell at sporting events. So, yeah. So congrats to them. Quick updates before we start our NCAA preview. Oh, that's you guys. I'm so excited for these NCAAs. It's going to be so fun. Live show tickets. Don't forget to get them before the day of. And if you want to upgrade, if you have like a season pass and you want to upgrade to in-person for this live show, you can do that, but do it before Friday because we are a very small staff. There's 3 of us and our amazing volunteers who help the physical show happen. So their customer service is not going to be available on the day of the show. So do it early. And we can't wait to see you guys there because it's going to be so fun. Fantasy for Nationals is now open. GymCastic.com is free to play. Lineups lock Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific. And the new pricing is available. And there's some steals.
You got to make your team. You got to put in your team.
You have to put your team in and hit save. Don't forget finish.
Finish. Hit finish. Don't look for a save button because the button says finish.
I am lobbying for that button to be moved up and be in red so that I don't forget to push
with an arrow that says Jessica ! Yeah.
Here, click here. You win a mini commission for this NCAA Championships fantasy game. And let me just tell you, some of the pricing is based on the What Have You Done For Me Lately system of pricing. So you might find some people that you think like are absolute stars, and obviously they should be the highest gym ruble price, but they're actually less because they've done worse in postseason than normally. So I'm just giving you a big hint on steals, you guys. And also, I don't make the pricing. I have nothing to do with that.
But we'll blame you anyway.
It's fine. Of course. That is what I'm here for, taking all the blame. It's my role. Amy Borman's book, co-written with Fact Checker, is out next week. The Balance, My Years Coaching Simone Biles. You want to know all the behind the scenes about Jesolo and Simone getting blackballed and having the twisties, which we reported on before, not the first time she had the twisties, in Tokyo. All those things, all in the book. It's excellent. And it also has a part that tells us how to move forward, suggestions on how to improve the culture, which I like. It's not just like, Jesus, this was a fucking mess. It also has.
I feel like that was a missed opportunity for an alternate title.
If I named all these books, my God, they'd fly off the shelves.
Yeah.
But this one is doing great. Thanks to everybody that has pre-ordered, because it makes a big difference, and we're really, really appreciate it. I say we because, I've lived in the house where I've heard them working on this for 5 years, so it's very exciting. Okay, so be sure to check out our forum too, because people are have tickets to sell and all kinds of stuff going in around in there. So if you're looking for tickets, check it out. All right, NCAA Championships preview.
Yes.
Let us begin.
Yeah, we're going to talk through each of the teams that qualified. We'll talk through the individuals. Briefly, we're going to put a time limit on it because we could talk about these teams for 90 hours, like the mixed team event at the Olympics. But, it's more interesting to talk about what ended up happening versus what we think might happen, I always think. But we're going to go through a little bit, starting with the first semifinal. First semifinal is Oklahoma, Florida, Missouri, and Alabama are the teams that have qualified. So we'll start with Oklahoma, the top seed in the first semifinal. Go through a few questions for each of the teams, starting with what is a victory for this team? So we're starting with a really easy question, because if you ask what is a victory for Oklahoma, the answer is winning.
Obviously.
When you're Oklahoma, when you've been as accomplished as this team is, that is the expectation that you're going to win. Like if we think about a prospective meet where a team comes in, hits all their routines, no major errors, scores a 198, really good competition, and finishes second, there are two teams here, I think, who would be disappointed by that result: Oklahoma and LSU. Maybe Florida. We'll talk about it. But it's like, if you're Oklahoma, it's win or you lost.
The only other thing I can say, I think, is also could be a victory for the sport as a whole and Oklahoma, is where they hit all the routines. They do exactly what they have to do to win, and then somehow they don't get the scores that they need, which would be a win because it will be more evidence that gymnastics needs a person who oversees the judging, and the scoreboard was necessary.
Really, I mean, I would say that's what happened in 2021 when Michigan won. Oklahoma had a really good meet and got beat.
Yeah, so maybe that could be another win if there's more different judging oversight. Erasing last year's nightmare where they, had 3 falls in a row on vault would be another thing. Okay, what is their secret weapon, Spencer?
I think Oklahoma's secret weapon is in the it was our secret plan all along kind of area, because it's been a different season for Oklahoma. They lost the dual meet against LSU. They lost the SEC championship. Losing is that's different for Oklahoma. That's a different season. They haven't been as dialed in on all of the vault landings that we've seen this season. So I think their secret, if that is this was a plan, this was an intentional plan to avoid what happened in the semifinal last season, I think that's their secret weapon. But if it ends up being this wasn't a master plan, this was just how it went this season, that could be a problem. But a potential secret weapon, we could see Oklahoma ending up going we told y'all at the end of Saturday. This was our plan all along. This is what we wanted to do. We could see that.
I think the secret weapon, everyone will think you say it's Audrey Davis. No, Audrey Davis is not a secret. Everybody knows about Audrey Davis. When Addison Feta is on, she is incredibly important to the team's success. What they have to just get her in the mindset of whatever happened in regional final. Get her back to there, because she's been up and down. So that is, for me, the secret weapon. Potential stumbling block.
if they're in their head about what happened last year.
Yeah.
I guess if that's still, I think it's an interesting thing for Oklahoma. Like if you're playing coach, if you're the coaching staff, like how do you not focus on what happened last year, but also make sure it's not secretly in everyone's heads.
Yep.
Where they're not talking about, because sometimes if you don't talk about something, then it's all you're thinking about.
Yeah.
But then sometimes if you over talk about something, it's all you're thinking about. So how do you manage that?
And also Vault has been up and down for them. I mean, they had a fall on beam too, but Vault has been up and down for them this season. So it's going to be really important that I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say dialed in. I'm going to say that they.
Oh yeah, we've banned dialed in.
Perform as they are capable on Vault. Florida, who killed it in the regional semifinal and then went downhill a little in the final, but still we were like, oh, that's the Florida.
Yeah. Okay, so what's a victory for Florida?
Breaking the curse.
Oh, brother.
The curse is that once a team has won under one coach, they never win again under a new head coach. So if they break the curse, this would be huge. The white leotard curse has been broken. This is all they have to do. So I think that would be huge. Huge for them.
Yeah, I think that advancing out of this semifinal in itself is definitely not it's a victorious competition for Florida. I think they're favored to advance out of the semifinal with Oklahoma. And like if they get to the final and then kind of go out quietly with a 4th place finish, we've seen that story too many times before in the Jenny Rowland era, where they make it and then it's kind of a quiet, like, oh, you weren't really in it to beat Oklahoma or LSU or whoever it is. So I don't know that they necessarily have to win for it to be a victorious championship for me, but they have to be at the very minimum very competitive to win in the final. And if they finish second and get beat by like an amazing meet from Oklahoma or LSU, I still think that's a victory. But there will be plenty of Florida people who are like, no, it's win. We have to win. We've won before and they're too talented. And I think that's a fair perspective as well.
Potential stumbling block.
Ooh. Believing some of their home scoring that those performances were enough to win, which I don't know that they necessarily do, but like you look at Florida had that 198.6 home score this year, the highest score this season. If you watch that performance is not enough to win a national championship.
Right.
So if they're content with that, they're not going to win. If they look at that and say, okay, yeah, we got a 196, but ignore that because we have to improve on the A, B, C, and D, then that's a team that can win.
Yep. Floor was the interesting thing for me that I was like, oh, that's been their really like the lowest up and down ranking for them. And that was kind of surprising. But Floor, who is there? Go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think this is what you were just about to ask, I do think Florida, if we're talking about secret weapons for each team, assets, for me, it's their depth. Because it was kind of the joke of the fantasy gymnastics season that Jenny Rowland wants you to fail, because Florida was playing around with their lineup so much, and it was except for Selena and Leanne, basically, you couldn't really be sure that a Florida gymnast you were putting in your lineup that week was actually going to compete. And that could end up being, if it's one of those years, and maybe I'm just thinking about this because like everyone I know is sick right now, but if it's one of those years where like all the teams show up to Texas and it's like, we all have colds, I think Florida is the best because they've played around with lineups, a lot of which because of necessity, like Sloan Blakely, Ellie Lazari being out. Florida's the best equipped to handle unforeseen circumstances that affect their intended lineups. So if it's that kind of year, I think Florida's in the best shape to deal with that because they've played around with their lineups more this season.
And we will have more injuries. We're recording this on Sunday, so we can get it out early because the meets start on Thursday. But there will be injuries between now and when the meets start.
Great.
Yeah, I'm just saying, that's sports. That's how sports work. I think Selena Harris is their secret weapon. She was very on and off.
Secret Selena Harris, who no one talks about. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
It's like Addison Veta. When she's on, it makes a difference to the whole outcome of the team. Like Mizzou, the Tigers with the great journalism school. What does victory look like for this team?
That's their mascot. They're not the Missouri Tigers. They're the Missouri Tigers with a great journalism school.
Yeah,
that's officially what it is.
That's right. Thank you. Victory for me for this team is they make Final Four and they keep the vibe. That is it. The vibe. It's the vibe. Or they get scored properly on floor for the artistry that they're bringing, and that they are actually moving and not just posing, that they are doing it on floor. That is, for me personally, for them, I don't know, but for me personally, those are my feelings.
That's the interesting question, because I feel like Missouri already victory. They already won, but because they don't always make it to nationals. It's not like the first time, but they don't always make it. By making it to nationals and having the season they did, that's already a victory. But I don't know if they see it that way. I think they see it like, we have not yet done what we expect of ourselves to do. And so that's really interesting. But as outsiders' expectations, which who cares about outsiders' expectations, except it's fun to talk about, and that's why we do a podcast. I think they already won. It's already been a great season. And even if they have the count a fall in the semifinal, I think it's still a win.
I think one of their secret weapons for sure. I mean, it's not so much of a secret, but she can make a huge difference.
We can just say it. It doesn't have to. It could just be a weapon. It doesn't have to be secret. It could just be an asset.
An asset. Yeah. Okay. Helen who? Helen who? Like, when you have someone that you can count every other time she does a Beamer team, it's going to be a 10. That's crazy. And it's so good all the time. I also feel like, going back to how they could do, if they just believe that we belong and we're having fun and we don't have expectations except we belong, I feel like they could possibly make the Final Four. But we'll see. What's your asset for that?
You have to beat Oklahoma or Florida, and that's not an easy ask. But yeah, I agree. I feel like if you look at Mara Tatarsaleh on bars and Helen Hu on beam, those are more likely end the rotation with a 10 routines than a number of the favorites to make the 4. And so if it's that kind of day where everyone's getting like a 995, 99 is a low, and then 9925 and everything's a 995, if they just have that little boost to a 10, that's the secret weapon there, is that they're actually more 10 likely than some of the higher scoring overall or more heralded teams.
Mm-hmm.
Potential stumbling block for Missouri, I feel like with a lot of teams we talk about, if they go to nationals and then it's a big deal and it's the end of the season and you get tight and you get nervous, or you try too hard and you start cutting off your movements, getting tight, making errors. For Missouri, I'm almost more worried that they're going to be so amped that they go out of bounds on every tumbling pass. They're so excited and so confident and happy to be there and we're going to nail it. That it's just whee! They get ejected from the floor.
Yep. Which, honestly, watch Mizzou's floor, you guys. You will see. Compare them. Watch Mizzou's floor. They are not getting the credit they deserve on floor. I'm just saying it will. People that watch them in person, after hearing me say this so much, we got a lot of messages, people being like, oh, Brooklyn Moore's a Mizzou. They were like, oh, now I understand. Seeing in person the amount of effort they put in. Alabama is in this.
Alabama made it. And that, I feel like, is the victory for this team. Kind of in that Alabama made it. We go back a month or so, 2 months, Alabama was looking like the weakest team in the SEC, and they were going to be the ones that didn't make the SEC championship. And that would have been warranted based on how they were performing in February, as recently as February. The vaults were all over the place, huge landing errors. They were having lots of mistakes, tentative beam, errors on floor. It was a whole thing. And now they've made the national championship. So it's you did it.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. Just enjoy Alabama, enjoy Chloe LeCourcier, and just enjoy all their joy. And that's a win. So predictions for who's going to make it out of this first semifinal. 4 teams enter, 2 exit.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that I think has a clearer pair of favorites with Oklahoma and Florida. I do think if they go in and hit their meets, they should advance out of the semifinal.
Yeah.
I think Missouri and Alabama need help. They need someone to come in and it doesn't mean a huge fall. Like it could be a meet like Florida's regional final. Missouri will look at that. Alabama will look at that. Alabama was very close to Florida in that regional final. Missouri will look at that and be like, we can beat that performance. So it doesn't necessarily take a counting fall, but I think they have to be, Oklahoma and Florida will have to be not on.
Yeah. Semifinal 2, this is the hardest one because all the teams are beatable, we learned. But this one, all these teams are potential 198 teams. So semifinal 2, 4 teams, LSU, Utah, UCLA, Michigan State, enter. Only 2 survive to Saturday. So LSU, first time they won in the history of LSU gymnastics last year. So what does victory look like for this team?
Winning. I mean, when you are the defending champion, the burden of being the defending champion is that you have to win again. Otherwise, it's a letdown.
Yeah.
You've underperformed because you won last year. So, you know.
With almost all the same
heavy
people
is the head, whatever, who wears the whatever. You know. Heavy is the head who wears the plastic stick crown that falls off of your bun and then clatters to the ground.
Biggest asset on this team?
Ooh, I think their regular season, the confidence provided by the how many 198s they've scored in a row, passing Oklahoma at the very end of the season. Like it can be, it isn't necessarily an asset because that can also be pressure. But I think being the team that has performed most consistently, the closest to their potential, should give them the easy, stay level, stay normal, don't get too high, don't get too low confidence that it often takes to win a national championship.
Chio.
Mm-hmm.
Kaylin Chio. She is, you put her in, if she can do floor, then put her on floor.
Oh yeah, because, I mean, that's something that we're watching. And that will be, or at least one of us will be at podium training, maybe both of us. I want to see who's doing floor, who's warming up floor for LSU and in what order. With Connor and Chio didn't go at the regionals when Connor went, so we'll see about that.
Yep. It's also, yeah, I feel like their biggest stumbling block could be believing their scores that they've been getting.
My Florida stumbling block. Yeah.
Right. It's the same one because it's like, I think they were so shocked that Michigan State almost beat them. But Michigan State has been underscored all season and they've been overscored like Florida a lot. Also with Oklahoma, I mean, if the scoring is actually using the code like it was at the beginning of the season, closer to the code, then that could be, but I don't think that'll affect them because they're, they have so much confidence and that's what you need. You need to know you belong. Like you need the Amari Celestine confidence of we belong when we win.
When we win the title. Yeah. Yeah. I almost wonder if LSU's potential stumbling block is being just solid enough to do well, which is what we saw at regionals. Like they did well. They had good meets, scored 198s, no major errors, no problems in those performances. But Florida's regional semifinal performance would have beaten LSU that day at the same meet. Oklahoma's regional final performance would have beaten LSU that day at the same meet. So those performances were the kind of meet that I was describing earlier that like do a really good job and get a 198.0 and finish second kind of meets if someone else is really on.
Yep.
So it's not, I think if you were picking who the most likely to win, I think LSU is the safest pick, but it's not a safe pick the way we've seen in previous years.
Yep. Which is good. It should be, you never know who's going to win and it can be another team. That's healthy sports. Utah. All
right. What's a victory for you from your perspective? What's a victory for Utah?
Making Final Four is a victory for them. I think that's their expectation, which they can do.
That's the interesting thing. Well, they're seeded to do so. They were finished 4th. Like, I think Utah is probably really tired of making the final and finishing 3rd. Well, it was 4th last year, but like before that, it was like 19 years in a row where they made the final and finished 3rd. I look at the way this season is shaping up. If Utah were to make the final and finish 3rd, that would be awesome for them. To me, that's a huge victory. Like, you did amazingly well. You nailed it and finished 3rd. I feel like maybe to Utah and their fans, they're like, we've been down that road before. It's every year we make the final and finish 3rd. We're tired of that. We want at least 2nd, if not 1st. But to me, like, that would be a really, really good result for Utah this year to finish 3rd.
Their biggest asset to me is beam. They are such a good beam team. They've got it. They can do it. It doesn't matter the pressure. They're going to be at a lower altitude. Already gives them advantage. They have more red blood cells. They can do this.
I feel like their secret weapon is Avery Neff. Because if you're Utah and you're like, I'm making the case for Utah to win, the fact that she was out for like 1 millisecond compared to what we expected, basically based on seeing that injury, but she was out and getting back. A nailed meet from Avery Neff is not really factored into the rankings or the scores that we've seen or Utah's hierarchy or NQS. So if you're Utah, you're like, that undersells us, because if Avery Neff is in and hits gymnastics the way she can, we're going to score higher than you think we're going to score.
Potential stumbling block.
Vault, like we've said for a lot of teams, but like vaulting like the regional final, except for Zoe Johnston, who has come through. She was anchoring, kind of came into the lineup and had some rough landings, and she's like, oh, I learned how to stick now, and I'm sticking every time. But they had some really rough landings that weren't reflected in the scores in that regional final. Short landings, almost knee down landings, big lunges. They can't vault like that, even in the semifinal, if they want to advance.
Speaking of vault, 2 interesting things happened last year and at regionals. At vault last year, there was a thing with the carpet where the carpet is supposed to be nailed down so it can't move, and they didn't do that for some reason. So they could like nail down, glued down something underneath the mats, and they didn't do that to save money. And that was a complaint from some coaches about why their team didn't do well, because it was just that little scoot.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see which. And then we saw like Oklahoma had their vault rotation with 3 falls in a row, and then they went to beam, and there was a long conversation about beam and the beam mats and the carpet and all the stuff. So I'm interested to see. I'm looking for which coaches are
never a national championship without equipment drama.
Yes. And then or a fire under the podium.
Fire under the bars. The bars burned down. We're not surprised
forget.
if it happens. Yeah.
The time smoke was coming out from under the podium. I'm interested to see that. And then the other thing that happened at regionals was that an email went out to all the teams, and the meet officials reminding them that and this was the Penn State regional where Michigan State and LSU were competing, that you can only use approved equipment. And it was a reminder about mats, and it has to be NCAA approved mats. And so I've heard a rumor of
mat drama.
There's a new kind of sting mat that's more like like the top of the vault, which is like a basketball yoga mat non-stick kind of surface. It's like heavier, so it doesn't slide. Because when you have like a sting mat, you always have to, which is that little pillowy, darker blue mat. If it gets air under it, all these mats, if they get air under them, they slide. That's why you see a coach standing there with their foot on it. So a team was using this and had to be asked, told, hey, have you been using this all season? This is not approved. You can't use it. So hopefully maybe next season they will approve this. It'll be adopted. But will that make a difference? Just saying. UCLA, what's victory for this team?
I mean, results-wise, making it out of the semifinal, they should consider that doable. Every team in the semifinal should consider it doable, that they can get out. And I think if they make the final, that's a big improvement over last season. It's a solid performance. It's a win for the season. More conceptual, I almost feel like just like a drama-free nationals would be a victory for this team. I feel like so many years, like whatever happened last year, I don't know if we'll ever like publicly know the whole deal, but like there was a lot of crying going back, like the years, the Waller issues. Like there have been so many postseasons where they've had like a lot going on behind the scenes. And it's like, if it's just a nationals that's about the gymnastics, I feel like in some ways that's a victory for UCLA this year. If it's just like, this was a emotionally smooth journey, that's a win.
I think a victory and the asset for this team is, just being here and having a good meet, and Brooke Lamore's being floor national champion is a win. But if Jordan Childs
just floor national champion,
just floor national champion,
casual,
it's not a lot to ask. She should, and it has one of the. If she does her artistry, You're judging on artistry and form.
If you're using the how many tenths? 8 tenths that exist in the code of points to deduct for artistry. If you're using them,
use all the points is all we ask the judges. 8 tenths. If Jordan Childs is at her minimum capability,
you mean if she's dialed in?
No, stop. That is an immediate demerit. If she performs to her minimum standard of NCAA, which is just, hit her routines. They don't have to be the best. They don't have to be whatever but she's been up and down in the last couple meets. So as long as she is, hopefully just in the gym all week and getting those practices in and is ready, then that would make a huge difference for them.
I mean, for me, UCLA's biggest asset is
Frida.
If you take the final 3 floor routines in their lineup, they should beat any other team. When you take the Shea Campbell, Brooklyn Moore's, Jordan Childs run of floor routines, that should score better than anyone else. If you're hitting, if you're on, are they going to compete like that? Do they believe it? Are they going to have the killer instinct? We'll see. But those routines should score the best run of routines, maybe on any event that any team has. So if they come through, we could see a meet like the Big Ten Championship when they scored a 198.4. I mean, that was a crazily scored meet, but, quality-wise, it was very well done.
Michigan State, the most underscored, biggest potential team in this entire
Tell us how you really
NCAA
feel
final.
about Michigan State.
I'm just saying, Michigan State, if they just believe in themselves, if they just listen to Amari Celestine on repeat, then they just listen to her interviews, put her on repeat on everything, because she has the attitude and Mizzou has done it. Believe in yourselves. They can be a top 2 team. I have no question in my mind. They are so good. For me, it's a top 2. They were, if not for a fall on beam on the last rotation, they would have beat LSU at regionals. They still finished only a half a tenth behind LSU. They are a top 2 team. If they hit the way they're capable of, especially, and they have the best vault by the numbers, they have their secret weapon is the best. They are the best vault team in the NCAA, period. Over and over, and proven again with the highest vault score across all regionals at regionals. No matter where it was, both days they had the highest vault team score. So I rest my case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because in terms of outside expectations for Michigan State, in some ways it's like, this is amazing already that you made the national championship. First time in 80 billion years that they made the national championship. They made
Second time ever.
Yeah. But also their capability is more than just making it. So if you repeat what happened in the regional finals, like LSU and Michigan State would beat Utah and UCLA in this semifinal if everyone repeats the meets that they had in the regional final. So it's, how do you have expectations for this team? Because on the one hand, it should already be a celebration that the accomplishment is done and the victory is done. But if you are approaching it we already did it, then are you going to be ready to perform with enough intensity to get out of this semifinal, which they absolutely have the capability to do? If they don't tighten up on beam, that's right. If we're talking stumbling blocks, that's my concern, because we saw that dual meet against UCLA. We saw in the regional final, both times they ended on beam and had an opportunity to win and then got kind of tight. I think it's good for them that they have Olympic order in the semifinal. They're not ending on beam, and I think that's good for them. But if, it's getting tight on beam, I think is the concern.
The one thing I want to say about Michigan State, and reiterate again, I've talked about it before, but I can now say Michigan State and MSU, and I only think about gymnastics and this amazing team. And that to me is the greatest win, the greatest legacy a team can ever have, that you have changed every association, negative association that this school and the administration of the school brought on themselves. And you have changed it to the legacy of beautiful gymnastics and changed the narrative. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. Individual titles.
All right. Your favorite? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you dialed in? You know, I'm going to say it every sentence for the entire
say that
and for the entire rest of time.
Now I have to put that on the drinking game. No, we'll kill.
Yeah.
You have to drink.
You have to
it's
call
only
this
water.
episode Dialed In, an NCAA Championship preview is being dialed in. Okay, individual titles. Let's talk about the all-around. Let's start with favorites.
Okay.
Who are the favorites for the all-around title, Jessica?
Jade Carey. And I had Miles on and Maddie Williams, but they can't do all around because I forget this is not FIG. This is NCAA, so you can only compete on what you're qualified for, and that's not fair. So for me, for all around, it's Jade Carey.
Yeah, I think it's interesting year because Jade really feels like a strong favorite based on the fact that you don't expect her to make errors. Like even a leg up wobble on beam would be a surprise for Jade because she just doesn't make those kinds of errors. It's only built-in things that are really getting taken in these routines, and she's so consistently scoring 995 or more. She's so consistently solid on beam. That feels like it. But if she has, not a large error, if something happens, and these are, we mean steps, there are so many people who are right there. When you go through the list, you're like, okay, Aaliyah Finnegan, Haley Bryant, Caitlin Chio, Jordan Bowers, Faith Torres, Leanne Wong, Selena Harris, Jordan Childs. Look how many people I got through on a list before I even remembered to say Jordan Childs. Like, there are so many people who could get a 39.7 in this. That's going to be, if they focused on it, really exciting. What's going to happen here? I do think Jade, based on her season, enters as the favorite, but there are so many people who can score so well that I'm very excited about what's going to happen in the all-around. I think it should be a fun race.
Yep.
Who are your, if we're playing Jessica's dreams, Jessica's hopes and dreams, who are your dream winner for the all-around?
I mean, if there was a Caitlin Chio, Leanne Wong tie, I would love that. Because I feel like Caitlin Chio is the best all-arounder in the NCAA right now. And Leanne Wong, I just want her to not be the alternate all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I want for her. And she is that good. Faith Torres is also one that I'm like, God, she's amazing. She's, so good. And I feel like she doesn't get the credit, but she's it's just incredible at everything. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, I forgot, I didn't even get to Utah and McCallum and Neff when I'm listing people who are I didn't even get there because there are so many people who can score that high. I feel like dream winner for me in the all around would be Nikki Smith. My dream outside upset pick, that I don't think is going to happen,
Michigan
but that
State
would be great. Nikki Smith of Michigan State. Just really lovely form. And it really can get there. She got, what'd she get, a 9975 on bars in the regional final? It's she can do that all the time. And so that would be really fun. My outside upset pick would be Nikki Smith. I think that would be a really fun all-around champion.
We can't forget that Jordan Bowers 3 10s at the regional final, and then which was not always really 10s, but she's so consistent and she's ranked also in the top 5.
If
and
she
then
starts sticking,
Shay Campbell
won
Big Ten all around. We can't you never know what's going to happen. So that's. Okay,
speaking
vault.
of you never know what's going to happen. Vault.
Yes.
Because this is the one where it's I think it's the most primed for a surprise winner because it's who shows up and sticks a Yurchenko 1.5 on the day. Who expected Anna Roberts to win last year? But she showed up and nailed her vault on the day. And so she's the vault champion. And especially this year, I think we have I always default to Haley Bryant for expected vault champion because if she sticks, I think she should be the vault champion. She hasn't, once she's come into the vault lineup, I don't think she's stuck yet this season. So she could show up and be I've been saving it for nationals and now I'm going to stick and I'm going to be the vault champion and no one would be surprised. But it opens it up for, if she even has that 05 scoop back, it opens the door the way vault is scored for someone who sticks a Yurchenko 1.5 to win, and it could be 900 different people.
My dream fantasy winner for vault is that the judges take all the deductions from
You mean for
pre-flight
shoulder angle on your block?
Shoulder angle, pre-flight legs apart, amplitude, all of it, actually direction, all of it gets taken because we cannot come down to who stuck it again. and not have knees and hip angle and legs apart on pre-flight and bent elbows not being taken.
They need every judge on vault to watch the NAWGJ video on college vault deductions, where they show a bunch of vaults from nationals that scored like 985, and they're like, the expected range for this vault is 965 or 97, and like, you know, just like
Follow
a refresher
that.
would be awesome, because they like the instruction materials have good deductions and feedback on what to take, and so I would love that. My dream winner, I think, on vault on the Michigan State topic is Sage Kellerman. I know she doesn't get a lot of distance on this vault. I'm aware of it. I don't need to be told, but it's so good. And her chest is up, and when she sticks, I'm like, this is the most satisfying vault.
Gabby Stevens or Zamari from Michigan State. It's basically anyone from Michigan State wins, because I feel like it's everyone on the team is a great vaulter.
For how well they vaulted this season to have an individual vault champion.
Bars.
Ooh, okay. I think there are a lot of people who can get 10s. I would say, you know, another Leanne Wong bars championship is maybe my most likely, because I think she is the most likely to stick her dismount with no deduction. So I would go with Leanne Wong, but there are so many people in there. Jordan Bowers just got a 10 on bars, and when she sticks, that's right there. Riley McCusker got a 10 on bars this season. When she sticks, it's a very clean routine if she's found the dismount that works for her. Dream winner, I think, for both of us is Audrey Davis, just because the rest of the routine, yes, the dismount, fine. But like everyone has that thing in their routine. Riley's feet come apart on her backswing on her chapache. There is something in that routine too. As long as she's not catching close on that Jaeger, because there have been a couple times lately where I'm like, oh, also you could take for, you know, elbows catching a little, she pulling in a little bit on her piked Jaeger. It's so lovely in the air, but you can take, as long as that's, you know, the right distance, that's dream winner for me. Or Mara Titorsole, because I think that's a really beautiful routine and well executed and worthy of huge scores. That's another dream winner for me.
I mean, Riley Mundell of Denver and Maddie Williams of Cal are both in this, and I feel like they are legit. They should legitimately be in the running for bars national champion too. So this one is pretty open. It's
and we didn't talk about Grace McCallum, who has 2 consecutive 10s at this point on bars, and I think bars is by far her cleanest event, and it's really just like well put together, efficient to minimize college deductions in a way that can be very helpful at nationals. If some people are nervous or sliding, and she is like, I have been doing these skills for so long. I am so well prepared for them. I'm going to nail each one every time, and I'm going to stick my dismount and just everybody shut up. Like it's an everybody else shut up kind of routine where it's just like, I did it. Bye.
Beam favorites.
I feel like our favorites and our dream winners are the same conversation here, because Helen Hu.
Helen Hu.
And not just because it is a beautifully well executed routine, but I think for me it's would be the most satisfying beam winner, because if you were to give her routine to the other best beamers in NCAA and say, here's time to work on this routine, here's preseason to learn this routine, and now compete it, they wouldn't be able to do it, because it is specifically geared towards showing off the individual excellence that Helen Hu specifically has in her gymnastics. And that's what you want to see in gymnastics routines, where it is not, these are the cookie cutter skills that we think are necessarily going to score well. It's, here is this person's stylistic performance encapsulated in a routine. And I think not only is it clean, it emphasizes that. And so that's why most satisfying winner to me would be Helen Hu.
Yeah. Maya Lazan has qualified on beam, and that would be very exciting for me too. I would love to see her. I love her mount, and it's so unusual and original, which is like the thing about Helen Hu, like why we love it so much is because it harkens back to the days of doing something original, because it's cool and beautiful.
And of course, my other dream winner individual qualifier would be Isabella Magnelli of Kentucky. I also want Kentucky to have something, because
something.
They did so well in the regional final and they didn't qualify. Give Kentucky something.
Connor McLean is one of the best beam workers in the world. But for college, she will not be, I feel like won't win this compared to the other gymnasts who are doing the most college like a Helen Hu that is so unique.
I feel like the only thing I have in Connor's routine is like amplitude on her gainer full dismount, though.
Yeah.
It's really well executed and really lovely. So if she sticks, I think she can win. But yeah, I also feel like if you watch LSU's lineup, I expect Aaliyah Finnegan to get a higher score anchoring that lineup. Also a very, very likely, very believable winner. Aaliyah Finnegan, Leanne Wong, right up there, could absolutely win and warrant winning. But yeah, it's Beam. There's a lot of good stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. But want the unique to win. Floor. Individual champions.
I think the favorite is Jade for floor, but this is also the most likely event where it would take a 10 to win. I think most events, it should take more than a 995. Like at least you need at least some of the judges to be going 10 for you. It could really take a 10 because like if UCLA is nailing that lineup right up to Jordan Childs and she hits her normal good one, very believable 10.
Yeah.
And then you don't beat a 10. You can't beat it. So I think Jade Carey is most likely to get a 10, but like Jordan Childs, Faith Torres, same thing. If she hits her routine at the end of the Oklahoma lineup, I think those are very believable winners. Obviously, dream winner, Brooklyn Moores, we talked about it. Like, all right, yes. But yes, like if you had Audrey Davis winning bars, Helen Hu winning beam, Brooklyn Moores winning floor, like confetti, these are the routines we want to see. We want to see win championships.
10 gymnasts have gotten a 10 on floor this season. So what we really want to see is a fair floor final with all of the leap deductions and landing deductions. And when you're doing a flip, your legs have to be absolutely perfectly straight, like Courtney McCool, and no crossing your legs on twisting. That is what we really want to see.
Biggest upset of championships will be actually Courtney McCool won the floor title for her posture standing near the LSU floor routines. She won. The judges were like, oh, that's the one we like the most. Let's do that. Courtney McCool's high heels won the floor title.
We are now going to draft Olympic teams college edition.
Very excited about this. So,
what are the rules?
People liked when we drafted our Olympic teams for each quad if everyone were healthy. So we're going to play drafting Olympic teams but you only can select gymnasts who are competing this week at NCAA Nationals. So these are the eligible gymnasts. We're going to do a couple rounds. Round 1, elite code of points. So we're judging this with the elite code of points. 2024 Olympic format, 5-member teams, 3-up-3 count in the team final. You can pick any gymnast in round 1, but only one per school. So you can't load up on people from the same school or a bunch of people from the same school. You can pick one per school, 3-up-3 count team final. What are you picking? Who's your team?
Okay. Brooklyn Moores.
Got it.
Gabby Stevens, MSU. Amari
Too
Celestine.
bad Gabby Stevens isn't a person.
Gabby
Her name is
Stevens.
Gabby Steven.
Sorry. Every time. Amari Celestine, Mizzou. Jade Carey, Audrey Davis.
Okay, so the rules were pick your Olympic team, not just your favorite gymnast. But I'm not surprised. Excellent. Okay, so do you have team final lineups here for this team?
No.
Okay.
But I have my specialists. So last up on floor will be Brooklyn Moores. Last up on bars will be Audrey Davis, vault Jade Carey, and last up on beam would be Gabby Steven or Amari Celestine. Depends how they're training.
Okay. I'll go there with you for this team.
Okay.
I feel like for my team, I want Jade Carey on this team. We're talking elite code. We're talking D score. I want her doing routines. Obviously, I want Jordan Childs on this routine, who are in this team that you callously removed from your team, who would nail it, who we've seen nail it in the elite code. She has the composition. Happy to put her up on any event. I want Sky Blakely on this team because I want that bars difficulty. We're saying we're saying she secretly has her chung back and just, she isn't in the Florida vault lineup right now because she's getting back from injury, but we're saying she has a chung for us. I want Connor McLean on this team because it's Connor. We need a beamer because if we Carey and Childs, good on beam for elite, but I think we can score higher. So I want Connor at least for beam. Okay, who else? We still need a bars. This team, I'm very happy with this team in a lot of respects, but I still need a bars. Maybe I'm going with Audrey Davis. No, I feel like it's smarter to go Grace McCallum because she can give you elite bars. That's an efficient, put together routine, and she can give you any event. I'm Tom Forstering things a little bit here, but yeah, okay. So my team, and this is an interactive game for our listeners. So make your own teams throw it. But I think Jade Carey, Jordan Childs, Sky Blakely, Connor McLean, Grace McCallum is my gymnasts currently competing at NCAA's Olympic team. I didn't repeat any schools, right? Okay, good.
No, you didn't.
Got it. Phew. But that meant I couldn't pick Leanne Wong because I picked Sky Blakely, and that's hard. But I think I want D-score wise, I think I want Sky on that team. Okay.
The next round was the harder one for me.
Yeah, that was easy. Okay, round 2. Elite Code, 2024 Olympic format still. You can only pick gymnasts who have never competed at a Worlds or Olympics. So we're talking NCAA never made a World or Olympic team for any country, not just the United States, and still only 1 per school. So who are we going for here?
I'm picking Kaylin Cho because she was an elite. And my team strategy is...
Yeah, I mean, we're on board.
Yeah, it's also like a Netherlands-Italy strategy. Like, I'm killing them with E-score, but you can do crazy skills. So Kaylin Cho, Audrey Davis, Ukrainian bars. Obviously, I'm putting Ukrainian bars blast on everything.
Okay.
Has also been an elite, so we can know she can do all the things. Helen Hu, because if there's one thing that the judges who are in the age range to be old enough to remember that the Soviet Union was the best gymnastics teams ever of all time will love Helen Hu. And she can, her routine is hard too. Faith Chio. Did I say Caitlin Chio? Chio.
You said Chio. You said Audrey Davis. Right. You said Helen Hu so far.
Okay. Faith Torres, also an elite, can do all the difficulty. So I might start all the events with her because she's going to hit and she can do all the crazy hard stuff. Oh no, I have 2 people from the same team.
You do. I was going to say you have been disqualified already because you have Audrey Davis and Faith Torres are both Oklahoma.
Jordan Childs.
Also disqualified. She has competed famously at 2 Olympic Games.
Oh God, you can't have her. Okay, wait.
Okay, so we're looking at, so we have valid selections. You have Kaylin Chio, Audrey Davis, and Helen Hu so far.
Gabby Gladio.
I think you need a Gabby Gladio. Okay.
Yeah.
That's solid. Because I was going to say you need a vault and floor person in here.
Yeah. Gabby Gladio, Alabama, great on floor, great on vault. Love her attitude.
But you still need another person.
Oh, that's right. So what do I need to round out? I have bars.
If you have Chio, Davis, Hu, Gladio,
then
I'd want another floor in here. That's why you had Faith Torres on your team, but she's a repeat for Audrey Davis for Oklahoma. So
I think I'm gonna take Jocelyn Moore, actually.
That's a very solid selection.
Because she can do hard stuff and she can bring it with the artistry, will not be a problem. So Michigan State or Missouri.
Yeah, I like it. I like this team. I think they do well. I'm going to say I agree with a lot of your selections here. I want Faith Torres as my Oklahoma representative for this one because she has that difficulty. She's going to come in and nail a beam. She has a lot of difficulty on beam, even in her NCAA set, so she can do that. Kaylin Chio, I agree. I want her on that team. I'm putting Avery Neff on my team at level 10, but has shown in her college routines that she has the difficulty. She can do a lot of different skills. I want her on that team. I like your Gabby Gladio pick. I like that. Or Jocelyn Moore. I don't think I would have them both on my team, but I want one of them there. What else do I need? This team still needs a bars. Oh, Frida. I'm taking Frida's bars.
Frida!
Adoy. Bardwaj, Van Leeuwen, we can put that together for a strong D score. All right, that's it. Yeah, Frida Sparza's on my team. Bars. Okay, round 3. You ready?
Round 3. Ready.
NCAA code of points and how NCAA is scored. So maybe not the NCAA code of points, but like actual real life judging. 2024 Olympic format, and you can only pick gymnasts who have never competed at Worlds or Olympics, but we're using, and 1 per school, but we're using the NCAA code to judge the Olympic Games. Let's go. Lay it on me.
Yeah. Rosie Casali from Denver.
Okay. Ooh, I like it. All right.
Because NCAA code, I'm looking for clean. This is also my strategy, but yeah. Okay, My Luzon. Clean, can do the difficulty. Yeah. Helen Hu, clean, can do the difficulty. Jordan Bowers, clean, has difficulty, and is so consistent. Riley McCusker.
I'm sorry. Once again, you've been disqualified. Riley McCusker
Damn
competed in the World Championships.
Oh, that's right. Ah! Oh, in my mind, she was always wronged and never got to compete. Oh, okay, you do your team, and I will pick my my ringers.
Okay. Jordan Bowers is my Oklahoma gymnast on this one. I'm saving her for the NCAA code because I think that's where she excels the most. Here, I want Haley Bryant.
That's who I was about to put down.
She's going through on all the events. I'm picking her. I want Selena Harris on this team. She's getting the scores. I'm saving her for this one. I like Maya Lazan as a pick. Okay, what am I missing? I mean, I feel like this team is of 4. I'm like Marta 2013 worldsing it. I don't need a 5th member with Bowers, Bryant, Harris, and Lazan. So yeah, I mean, Helen Hu can go and nail a beam for us, and we can put her on the team. Yeah, okay. That's it. That's my 5th member. I'm happy with that.
I'm gonna take MJ Frazier as
she's not competing. Also disqualified. She didn't qualify to nationals. You can't take MJ.
Oh, they have to. Damn it. Then it's either should I take Grace? Can't take Grace. She's an Olympian. McKenna Smith also a world champion.
I mean, you needed one more, and you said you wanted Haley Bryant. Okay. After I said it, you can copy me.
Okay. I was already picking her before you said it.
Do I want Lily Hudson?
Yes.
Beautiful twisting form.
Yes.
I might want Lily Hudson in there on this team. I feel like we haven't talked about her, and we need to.
Send us all your ideas and lineups for this and who you would pick, because these rules are hard.
Yeah. And we didn't even do NCAA code, but you can pick anyone.
We have a special interview coming up with Will Graves of the AP because he wrote an article that I feel like sums up what we need to keep in mind in this age of America, and also what really matters in life. Keep it in perspective. Will Graves' new article for the AP is called "Why Can't I Do That? Men on balance beam, women on rings, in one gymnastics group, anything goes." Okay, Will.
Yes.
I think in all the years of knowing you, I've never seen you so inspired, hyped, passionate about a story. Tell us about what prompted this story.
Well, last summer ahead of the Olympics, I did a story on sort of the rise, kind of linking the rise in adult gymnastics with the older elites, with Simone and Rebecca and everybody else, right? And during the reporting of that story, I connected with Alana Shashansky from the NAIGC, and she mentioned, hey, our nationals are in Pittsburgh next year, which is where I live. And we talked sort of, briefly about their gender policy. And I kind of tucked it away. And then, of course, over the fall, I very randomly became sort of like the bosses came to me and said, well, we need somebody to be kind of the point person on transgender athletes and sort of the issues there. I did some reporting in the fall and, and in January, and then after Trump took office, I wrote the breaking news that day on the executive order. I wrote an explainer, kind of, piecing together where we're at in this space. And then I reached out to Alana like maybe a month before the meet. And I said, look, this is a story I really want to write. I got to tell you, look, I mean, you've known me a long time now. I love my pretty words. This is the very, very, very rare story, probably too rare, where the reporting was the joy. The writing was traumatic because I was like, man, I understood how important this, to show people what's really going on in this space, not what they're seeing on TV, not what they see on social media, but like real people, right? And the folks I talked to could not have been more gracious. And I did maybe 8 or 10 Zooms with different folks. And not just athletes that identify as trans, but like just other folks that also do stuff for the NAIGC. And they could not have been, look, people in that community have every right to be circumspect of people like me, right? I mean, look, and I'm a 50-year-old cisgendered straight white guy, right? Like, I mean, I could not be in a more different space than these great folks that I met are. And they were gracious. They were honest, they were open. And when strangers, and this is the best, the favorite part, I was texting you like as I was reporting this, I was giving you like periodic updates as it was going because I was so excited. It's humbling to have people in that space, strangers who didn't know me from anybody to take a chance. And I made it very clear about the story I wanted to write, right? Like I was not coming in to do a gotcha piece. I wanted to do these are real people who love their sport, want the ability to compete their sport and to be seen for who they are. When you look at the number of, the suicide rates for trans teens, right? When you look at all the vitriol that is going towards that community in general, I mean, let's be very clear here. The people, not all of the people, but I believe there are some very bad actors that are on the other side of this issue. And they are using this as a cover to say, if you are trans, we are against you. They couch it by saying athletes, but that's not what they mean. That's not what they mean. And look, the reality is these are real people that have every right to go and live their lives like you and I do and everybody else. And I wanted to tell their story. And they were, I wanted to do right by these people because of the trust that they showed in me.
What were people's experiences at this meet?
Myself, Patrick, our videographer, Gene Pusker, our great photographer here in Pittsburgh. That meet could not have been more fun and more eye-opening because there's a purity to it, right? There's a purity to the people in that space that is hard to come by because they are literally doing this because they love it. And this is, this meet goes through, like I would say, it sort of spans the spectrum in terms of abilities, right? I mean, there are some stuff that you could see at like a level 5 meet, right? And then you would see some, I saw some level 9, level 10 gymnastics also at that meet, right? So like it's not just while the NAIGC is still mostly college kids, there were people in their 50s, there were people in their 60s competing at this thing. And it was just, it was wonderful.
What has the feedback been about your story?
Look, I got a note afterwards that I did not connect with an athlete that identifies as a trans female. Let me be very clear. Everybody has their right to tell me to buzz off. It's not that I did not attempt to do this. They just, if there were any, they chose not to connect with me. And that is, look, trust me, that is totally fine. But, one of the athletes I talked to said, look, I think that, trans masculine athletes are sort of getting, forgotten about here, right? Like, this whole issue is just othering everybody in that community. Like that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to other everybody. And it's making some of the trans masculine athletes feel like insignificant, right? And that is, all they want to do is be seen for all they want to do is be accepted. And to be very clear, most of the athletes that I talked to on their teams and their clubs and whether they were collegiate athletes or adults, like they have found an atmosphere in their home gyms that have allowed them to, and the interesting thing is too, like at nationals, they do gender divisions, right? I mean, they have a men's plus division and a women's plus division, but at a local NAIGC meet, there's none of that. There's none of that. It is like, if you are level this, you're competing against everybody that's at that level. If you're level this, so it would have been, maybe to kind of prove the point that there's so much smoke, but not a lot of fire on this thing. The people that are in these spaces are not as upset as you would be led to believe by bad actors that have profited, whether through publicity or otherwise, from sort of making this a central issue in the United States, when it is just one of the many, many things that's going on here. You have to credit NAIGC for A, being progressive, and B, sort of allowing people, like understanding that this is they believe that gymnastics is for everybody, and they're walking the walk. They are walking the walk. And how can you not respect that? Because these people, I talked to some experts when I was doing my research in the fall, and they talked about how important it was for, any person that transitions, especially if they are involved in sports, the social impact, the importance of being accepted socially in a space that they have already familiar with, right? How important that is to help with their mental health in terms of helping them navigate the process of transitioning. And that is literally what is happening in this space. That is literally what is happening. And, it is, anyway, yeah. Can you tell I'm fired up about this?
Yes.
The short story is of the people that I met, I am forever. I've made some lifelong, I believe, connections. My buddy, Faye Malay from Jurassic Gymnastics, 31-year-old non-binary athlete. The funniest interview I have had in my career. I was texting you outtakes and I texted Faye, like, after we were going to talk, I was like, oh my God, Faye, like, that was the funniest interview of my entire career.
What's a perspective on what this meet is like for anyone not familiar with the queer, transgender, diverse folks in sports?
I mean, there was so much joy in general. It wasn't even just on the trans athletes. I mean, I talked to a kid named Brody Penn, at Ohio State, was a level 10 men's gymnast, but, has excelled in doing some of the women's events in NAIGC. The NAIGC offers something called the decathlon, where you do all 6 men's events and all 4 women's events, and everybody competes against everybody on your level. I mean, so it's men and women, across sort of competing against each other. And, like in the top category, Brody won, but, the third place finisher was a woman.
Yep.
Right. And she finished ahead of her husband. So, yep. It was.
And doesn't she have twin children too? I believe. Yeah. She's had twins.
Yeah. I mean, right. It wasn't about it was just like they wanted to see the gymnastics. It doesn't matter what the body looked like that was doing the gymnastics. They just wanted to see the gymnastics. And look, to be very clear, most of the trans or non-binary athletes I talked to for this story wished that they had their own division. Like their hope is that one day there are enough athletes in this space that they can just sort of compete amongst themselves, right? But there isn't, they're not there yet. The hope is that, I'm sure, that one day they do get there. But I also talked to people that were like, kind of annoyed that NAIGC at the international meet has gone to this format where it is sort of gendered, because it's not that way it wasn't that way a few years ago. But look, that sort of speaks to the uptick in participation in this organization, the uptick in interest, their enrollment in both the collegiate and the adult club ranks are rising. And so they're trying to create an umbrella to get as many. It's hard. You can't, this, Jess, as the bigger something gets, the harder it is to please everybody. Right. I mean, yep,
I understand.
I mean, we've been riding that roller coaster with you for a long time. Right. I mean, you're a pro in sort of knowing how this goes. So trust me, most of the non-binary athletes I talk to, hope that there is one day a space where they compete against sort of people that are much like themselves in terms of how they identify. But they're not there yet. But this is better than nothing. This is better than quitting the sport. This is better than being forced to quit the sport because you feel like you don't belong. And by the way, and I'll tell you one more thing. So, I gave everybody I talked to the option of being on the record or off the record. And I talked to an athlete that said, for very, very valid and specific reasons, said they didn't want to be identified, but they wanted to talk. And during the course of our conversation, they said something, and I think I might have texted you this, after I got off the Zoom with them, that said they thought about quitting after the election. This athlete lives in a red part of the country. That's all I'll say. And, said, I thought about quitting, but then I thought, what? The federal government doesn't get to tell me, who I can or cannot be and what I can and cannot do. And then if I quit, then they win. They just want you to just let them go do their thing. They're not trying to take, in this space, I want to be very specific. In this space, they are not trying to take anything from anybody. They're not trying to rob anybody of opportunity. They're not trying to cheat their way to the top. They are just being themselves. And gymnastics is an important part of their identity. And Ryden, said to me, and it was in my story, sort of like the hammer to my story at the end, they don't feel like they should have to choose between their identity and their sport. And the NAIGC creates a space where the athletes don't have to do that, and that should be commended. Right. And I don't know if you saw the John Oliver, piece that he did on trans athletes this week, but I mean, it's right. I mean, it's right. I mean, I got text after I wrote the story. I got text from people at the USOPC. I got text from people within USAG. Will, great story. This is kind of needs to be out there. It's a breath of fresh air. And I'm not going to. And John, in his piece, made it a point to say that he understands there is a conversation to be had at the elite levels of sport. I am not, look, I will allow that. I've talked to people, I've talked to scientists and all this other stuff as I do my reporting. I don't want to get into that. That's not me. But the reality is, like, it's just like every other part of life. 99.9% of trans people that are in sports are not there to try to win a gold medal, or they are not there to try to, win a state title. They are there because they like the sport. They like being around the people on their team or whatever their sport might be. And this is just part of their life. It's just like it is for everybody else that does it. And they deserve, in my opinion, not as an AP writer, but as a human being, they deserve that respect and dignity that everybody else gets. They are not trying to take something from you. They are not trying to hurt you. They are not. And the fact that this narrative gets out there and it becomes prevalent and people use it as an excuse to just cancel people in that community in general, my God. Like, I'll leave it with this because, like, we said 10 minutes, and I was like, there is no way in hell this is going to be 10 minutes. One of my very best friends has 2 stepchildren. With his wife, they also have a son who's about to turn 10. And the oldest is transmasculine and has changed their name. A process started a year-ish, maybe over a year ago. My wife and I had a long dinner with my friend and his wife last spring, where they sort of laid out sort of what was going on with their child. And I've known this kid. They're not a kid anymore. They're in their early 20s since they were 8-9 years old. And to hear them try to navigate this, hear my friends navigate this, and be as respectful, even as they were trying to understand it, right? It was because it was something that was because it's so personal. This is your child, right? But to hear them, I mean, it was just the adults. So we were out at some restaurant, right? And to hear them, try to make sure that they got the pronouns right, to try to make sure that they called the child by the name that they are known by now. That really, and I've known these people for 30 years, and that really hit me in a way that I was not expecting. And that conversation, that night has stuck with me for a long time. And my hope is that I wanted to show people in a real way as possible, like, what is the reality? What is the reality in this space? Not what you hear, but what the reality is. These are people and they deserve respect. And it's going to be a long time before I report on a story that's probably going to affect me in a way that, in a positive way, that this story did. There's people that I talk to, everybody, regardless of where they identify, and because I did talk to people across a wide spectrum. They were great. And it reminds you that, to your point, I mean, sports, we start doing this when we're 5, 6, 7, 8, or as an adult, 20, 30 years old, because it's fun. We're not looking to get famous. We're not looking to win X, Y, and Z. It's fun. We have to ally with the people in these communities. And as a person, I'm not saying this as an AP writer. I'm saying this as Will Graves, human being. And
one thing I wanted to add is Will is one of the top sports AP writers and talks to the pro athlete, whoever your favorite pro stick and ball sport person is, and the head coach that's on TV every week. And, like, that's his beat. That's who he talks to all the time. So I was so excited when you got so stoked about this story, when you have the dream job of many people. And so it was just great to see your experience through this and your passion.
Yeah, my wife, my wife asked me a long time ago, what are your strengths? What's your favorite thing to do as a journalist? And look, I like going to the Olympics, and I like telling the stories of famous people. I really like telling the stories of famous people before they're famous, Simone Biles. But the thing that I really like the most, and I've written thousands of stories at this point. I like telling the stories of people whose stories aren't often told. And this is like, this was right up there for me. This was, my job is changing, our industry is changing, but like, this was a reminder to me that, this is what journalism is supposed to be. It's supposed to show you pieces of the world that you may not have been familiar with. And that's, the AP does that as good as anybody. I'm fortunate to have that job, and I'm very passionate about sort of doing it the right way. And I was just honored that, these folks allowed me to share their story. And I hope there's more coming.
Thanks so much to Will Graves of the AP for being here and writing that beautiful story, which we need in these dark times, and for putting perspective around gymnastics. We will see you guys for the first podcast of NCAA Championships are going to be Thursday after the semifinals and the awards.
So
they're going to
be ready because it's the semifinals.
It's going to be late. There's going to be awards. There's an all-around individual, and then we'll do our podcast live. And then Friday is our live show. Make sure to get your tickets, ask your questions now, because not a lot of customer service when we're in the middle of putting the show on. And then Saturday, after the team finals, we will do a podcast after the press conference. So give us 20, 30 minutes. We're going to Texas again. So remember to take off on gay, split on rights, and we'll see you in Fort Worth. Thanks for listening.